Chapter 264. Honing the Saber Intents. The immortal mansion was expansive, but with the human-faced fruit leading the way, Lin Fei quickly located the prison deep underground. As they descended flights of stairs, Lin Fei lit up an oil lamp, illuminating the prison's second layer. His expression shifted slightly when he discovered corpses within the cells. The bodies, though lifeless, remained remarkably intact, devoid of the usual signs of decay. They appeared as though they had just met their life's end. The prison was compartmentalized with many cells, each secured with formidable arrays and formations. It was evident that these arrangements, which were capable of holding the occupants inside, were set up by the nascent soul Great Bane. Such an extraordinary feat. However, every inhabitant within the cells was dead. Even if they were once at the golden core true person level, they would only have a lifespan of a millennium. The master of this mansion, the seven sacred Taoist, had been dead for perhaps tens of thousands of years. Lin Fei ventured deeper into the prison until he felt a sudden surge of powerful saber intent emanating from one of the cells, possibly even saber momentum. Though he couldn't see the source due to the distance, the overwhelming force it exerted was palpable. This intense saber intent, possibly even saber momentum. The being inside that cell must be an incredibly formidable martial artist, Lin Fei mused. A saber sate. Unlikely that a saber sate would be imprisoned here. It might actually be a martial sovereign. A realization dawned upon him. Why would a nascent soul great being have a martial sate imprisoned? It seemed improbable. A nascent soul cultivator was a supreme being, capable of walking the vast ancient continent without fear or challenge. To be caught and imprisoned by such an entity, one had to be of extraordinary power, at least at the golden core or martial sovereign level. Amid the intimidating aura of the cell, Lin Fei faced the challenge head-on. The menacing saber momentum and saber intent emanating from the cell made it almost impossible for him to approach. Such potent forces, even after the death of its possessor, made Lin Fei realize the indomitable spirit of the person once imprisoned. But challenges like this were what Lin Fei lived for. This was the type of environment in which he thrived. To him, these intimidating forces weren't mere obstacles, they were opportunities for growth. Without hesitation, Lin Fei sat cross-legged and began his meditation. Soon, his three unique saber intents manifested before him, the Rainbow Transformation Saber, the Holy Spirit Saber, and the Flame-Burning Heaven Saber. These saber intents had seen little progress after reaching the transcendent stage. But now, with this immense pressure and saber aura around him, Lin Fei saw a chance to push his limits and refine these saber intents further. As he unleashed his three saber intents, the overwhelming force from the cell nearly dispersed them. The oncoming saber intent threatened to shadow Lin Fei's intent. But his own saber momentum surged to protect his saber intent, forming a shield that kept them intact. This back-and-forth battle not only prevented his saber intents from dissipating but also refined them, making them stronger. Lin Fei could feel the incremental growth in his strength. Just a short session had increased his saber intent strength by 1%. With such formidable saber intent and saber momentum to contend with, the rate at which my saber intent grows is impressive, he thought. If I have a month under such conditions, to what level can I elevate my saber intent? Uncertainty lingered, but Lin Fei was undeterred. With determination burning in his eyes, he set forth to harness as much of this unique opportunity as he could, pushing his saber intents to new heights. 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. As Lin Fei's cultivation progress of saber intents progressed, he began to stride forward. 1 step, 2, 3, 4, 5. With the enhancement of his saber intent, Lin Fei found himself resilient enough to withstand the saber intent and saber momentum within the prison. He moved closer, albeit only by a few steps, but with the prison being 100 steps away, even this small advancement signified his increasing proficiency. Days turned into nights. Lin Fei's attention had wholly drifted away from the rest of the immortal mansion. Upon his arrival at the mansion, he had already amassed numerous heavenly treasures sufficient to present to his sect. Such an opportunity to encounter and cultivate using this caliber of saber intent and saber momentum was rare and invaluable. Missing it would be a real loss. In his heart, Lin Fei harbored the ambition to perfect his saber intent and evolve it into saber momentum. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. In the blink of an eye, 15 days had passed. Throughout this time, Lin Fei persisted within the Immortal Mansion's prison, harnessing the formidable saber intent and saber momentum to refine his own. However, among his 3 saber intents, their rates of improvement varied. Some progressed rapidly, while others advanced slowly. Suddenly, there was a resonant hum. The flame-burning heaven saber intent within Lin Fei underwent a profound transformation. Simultaneously, a voice echoed in Lin Fei's mind. Your flame-burning heaven saber intent has reached 100% proficiency. It has now achieved perfection. Has it truly reached perfection? Lin Fei paused momentarily in astonishment. At that moment, his flame-burning heaven saber intent soared into the skies, its power surging explosively. Astonishingly, it could now contend with that formidable saber intent head-on. Of course, there was still a difference. After all, that was the saber intent of a martial sovereign. However, it was likely that the adversary had been long deceased, hence their saber intent had undoubtedly weakened significantly over time. Moreover, Lin Fei's saber intent was far from ordinary. It was the saber intent born from a pinnacle martial technique of the martial sei tier, naturally exceptional. At that moment, Lin Fei took a brief glance. He had managed to advance a mere 10 steps. Any further progress seemed virtually impossible. A glint of determination flashed in Lin Fei's eyes, and a thought crossed his mind. The saber intent of the flame-burning heaven saber had reached its peak and could no longer be enhanced. At this juncture, there was only one recourse: evolve it into saber momentum. Once saber intent achieves perfection, its evolution to saber momentum becomes the natural next step. However, Lin Fei couldn't afford to wait. His experience with evolving saber momentum was extensive, so with perfected saber intent, he was confident in his ability to make this transition. If he didn't make the shift to saber momentum, augmenting his current transcendent saber momentum, Lin Fei would find himself at an impasse, unable to forge ahead. The progression speed of the saber intents of the Rainbow Transformation Saber and the Holy Spirit Saber was evidently slower than that of the Flame-Burning Heaven Saber. This indicated that these 2 saber intents required more profound pressures for advancement. Lin Fei needed to draw closer to that dominant saber momentum to hasten the development of the other 2 saber intents. With that, Lin Fei closed his eyes. He knew this day was inevitable. He had to evolve his saber momentum. Without hesitation, he resolved, let it commence, flame-burning heaven saber, evolve into saber momentum. Boom. The next moment, a thunderous resonance erupted in Lin Fei's mind. The evolution of the saber momentum had begun. Chapter 265. Leave or Die. The evolution of saber momentum, Lin Fei had mastered it with adept expertise. At this moment, a sonorous clamor echoed within his mind. It felt as though he stood amidst an endless inferno where the fiery seas brandished ferocious sabers. Such was the saber intent of the flame-burning heaven saber. Once evolved into saber momentum, its potency was not to be underestimated. Indeed, it was awe-inspiring. Time trickled away. The flame-burning heaven saber intent, which had once been but a tiny spark, now blazed fiercely. From a single spark, a wildfire grows. With the eruption of flames, the successful evolution of the flame-burning heaven saber momentum had been realized. With a swish, Lin Fei opened his eyes. With a mere thought, the saber momentum of the flame-burning heaven saber manifested instantly. Immediately, a radiant circle of fiery red light surged, sweeping in all directions. Such was the saber momentum of the flame-burning heaven saber. Within this saber momentum, one had not only to endure the fierce saber's onslaught but also the searing pain of flames. Of course, this was but an illusory sensation, not the true burn of flames. All saber momentum remained ethereal. Perhaps only beyond the realm of saber momentum might a metamorphosis into reality be possible. Yet, even in its ethereal form, its terror was profound. Submerged in such saber momentum, one's strength was suppressed. Beyond enduring the saber's sharpness, one felt the scald of flames. Under the weight of such saber momentum, even the mightiest would be subdued. It was akin to facing both a mountain of sabers and a sea of flames. The saber momentum at the level of martial state was indeed extraordinary. However, Lin Fei sought not just individual saber momentum. His aim was to merge all saber momentum into one fuse. In the very next moment, without a hint of hesitation, Lin Fei seamlessly merged the heavenly saber momentum with that of the flame-burning heaven saber. The two saber momentums within Lin Fei tangled and clashed with each other. Concurrently, a battle of the two saber momentum erupted in Lin Fei's mind. This time, Lin Fei didn't interfere, simply waiting patiently to see which one would emerge superior. After all, regardless of which saber momentum assimilated the other, or which became dominant, it wouldn't have a significant impact on Lin Fei. As time flowed on, a victor between the two saber momentum was eventually determined. The heavenly saber momentum, having already integrated numerous saber momentum and even having achieved transcendence, was undeniably formidable. Even if the flame-burning heaven saber momentum was at the level of martial sovereign, how could it possibly match the profound foundation of the heavenly saber momentum? Thus, the heavenly saber momentum successfully merged with the flame-burning heaven saber momentum. A deep rumble echoed as the heavenly saber momentum, after absorbing the flame-burning heaven saber momentum, began its transformation. Within the saber momentum, traces of flames emerged, creating an ambience as if one were amidst a raging inferno. It had fully integrated the features of the flame-burning heaven saber momentum. A voice from the system resonated in Lin Fei's mind. Your heavenly saber momentum has successfully integrated the flame-burning heaven saber momentum, accelerating its cultivation progress by 40%. A 40% increase in cultivation progress. Lin Fei mused aloud. That's just from the flame-burning heaven saber momentum. If the Holy Spirit saber and Rainbow Transformation saber momentum each added 40%, my saber momentum will certainly reach perfection. Even Lin Fei, who always maintained his composure, couldn't hide a hint of joy in his eyes. His choice to practice 3 martial sovereign-level saber techniques, followed by painstakingly comprehending the saber intent and evolving the saber momentum, now seemed all the more worthwhile. Indeed, the martial level saber techniques, once their saber momentum was evolved and integrated into the original saber momentum, truly stood out, significantly enhancing one's cultivation pace. Let's see how many steps I can take now, Lin Fei pondered aloud. The strength of his saber momentum had magnified considerably. Thus, he unleashed it, carrying a faint scent of burning flames, and strode forward, 10 steps, 20, 30, 40. By the time Lin Fei reached the 40th step, he realized his saber momentum had reached its limit. To push further might strain it beyond its capacity. This spot was ideal. In fact, to ensure absolute precision during the sharpening of his saber intent and to avoid any unforeseen mishaps, he voluntarily stepped back 3 paces, settling around the 37th step. From here, Lin Fei could glimpse the distant prison. However, a mystical array enveloped the prison, seemingly obstructing his view. The insides of the prison remained elusive, discernible perhaps only if he drew much closer. Lin Fei didn't waste a moment. He had merely evolved the saber momentum from the flame-burning heaven saber. There was still the Holy Spirit saber technique and the Rainbow Transformation saber technique. Both techniques need to be transformed into saber momentum. He remembered distinctly that he could remain in the immortal mansion for just a month. After that, the 4 major powers would no longer be able to suppress the array. If he was still inside by then, escape would become impossible. Thus, he had only half a month left. Time was of the essence. Thankfully, in the previous half-month, his saber intent from the other two techniques had improved significantly, although not as drastically as the flame-burning heaven saber. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. Your rainbow transformation saber intent has achieved perfection. Lin Fei opened his eyes. Perfection in the rainbow transformation saber intent had been achieved in just 25 days. Only 5 days remained. The saber intent of the Holy Spirit saber technique was nearing perfection. Lin Fei was confident that within 5 days he would achieve the pinnacle. And when that happened, he would similarly evolve it into saber momentum. However, Lin Fei was in no rush now. 5 days remained, and he needed to make the most of every moment. Even evolving into saber momentum would consume time Lin Fei was loath to squander. Once outside, he could evolve it at will. There was no need to spend precious time within the immortal mansion. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Only the final day remained. Lin Fei glanced at the progress of his Holy Spirit saber intent, which had reached an impressive 97%. By the end of the 29th day, he would likely perfect it. As the critical moment approached, Lin Fei's resolve was to remain more composed and centered than ever. Yet just as he had closed his eyes, immersing his entire being into refining his saber intent, footsteps echoed from the outside. Members of the Tai Dao Palace had unexpectedly found this location. Not only them, but the Red Hades Mansion and the Profound Light Cave Heaven members also arrived in succession. Is that Lin Fei? It's Lin Fei of the Ancient Origin sect. We haven't seen him in so long, and here he is. Looks like a prison here. Look inside. They've imprisoned some golden core true persons. Even if they are dead, they surely possess magic treasures. Whether from Tai Dao Palace, Red Hades Mansion, or Profound Light Cave Heaven, all eyes were drawn to the cells. To them, the discovery of magic treasures, especially those left by a golden core true person, was the greatest gain. Maybe they had already secured many treasures, but greed knew no boundaries. Suddenly, Lin Fei's eyes snapped open. With so many present, it was impossible for him to quietly refine his saber intent. This was crucial for the perfection of his intent, the eventual evolution of saber momentum, the formation of the spirit flower, and even his potential ascension to martial sovereign. A chilling light flashed in Lin Fei's eyes. At this juncture, he couldn't maintain his composure. You have the span of 3 breaths. His voice was icy, leave or die. Concerning his Tao, his murderous intent could no longer be suppressed. Those who obstructed his way would face deadly consequences. Chapter 266. Combined Great Mountain Seal. Inside the Immortal Mansion's prison, many were stunned. No one expected Lin Fei to be so assertive and audacious, especially when he was the only representative from the Ancient Origin sect. The presence of individuals from the Red Hades Mansion and the Profound Light Cave Heaven didn't imply their unequivocal support for Lin Fei. The Tai Dao Palace had posed no threats to them, yet now it was Lin Fei who was the one threatening not only the Tai Dao Palace but also them. There was hardly any reason for the Red Hades Mansion or the Profound Light Cave Heaven to intervene. However, Lin Fei was indifferent to these deliberations. 1 breath. Lin Fei's voice was as cold as ice as he started his countdown, the murderous intent emanating from him unmistakably real. 2 breaths. His gaze grew colder, and his attention fixed on the Tai Dao Palace group, which was the largest and nearest to him. The members of the Tai Dao Palace were still in 2 minds. They had already ransacked most of the Immortal Mansion, and only the prison remained unexplored. It was believed that the nascent soul Great Being, who used to own the mansion, imprisoned important figures here. Even if these figures had passed away or most of their treasures were taken by the nascent soul Great Being, there might still be some relics left behind which could be of immense value. Moreover, before entering the Immortal Mansion, true person Lin Fei had instructed them that if the chance presented itself, they were to eliminate Lin Fei at any cost. Attack. In the next instant, more than 20 Foundation establishment true persons, instead of retreating when Lin Fei called out 2 breaths, not only advanced but also launched their assaults. Their moves were fierce, with the intent to kill. Great Mountain Seal. Again, the Great Mountain Seal. The surprising thing was that all these 20-plus disciples possessed a Great Mountain Seal. While most of them were likely replicas of the genuine Great Mountain Divine Seal, at least 5 among them were of the Golden Core level, qualifying as Golden Core Magic Treasures. The remaining seals were at the Peak Foundation establishment level. If these magic treasures were simply numerous, it wouldn't be such a concern. However, the Great Mountain Seals of the Tai Dao Palace were unique. Almost every Foundation establishment true person of the palace had a Great Mountain Seal that they had cultivated from an early age. When activated, these seals could combine their powers. 2, 3, or even countless seals, regardless of their levels, could unite. This extraordinary feature made the Great Mountain Seal so sought after within the Tai Dao Palace. Facing 1 or 2 Tai Dao Palace Foundation establishment true persons might not be a significant challenge. But confronting a group of them wielding Great Mountain Seals was virtually an unbeatable force. This unique trait of the Great Mountain Seal was the reason behind the Tai Dao Palace's consistent expansion over the years despite not having produced any nascent soul great beings since their founding ancestor. Other sects couldn't replicate the Great Mountain Seal because its initial crafting required the imprint of the original Great Mountain Divine Seal. With this imprint, countless Great Mountain Seals could integrate their powers, a testament to the nascent soul great being's formidable skill and something that other sects could not emulate. Now, the sky was filled with these Great Mountain Seals, especially dominated by the 5 Golden Core level seals. They began to merge rapidly. Over 20 seals combined into one, exponentially magnifying its power. This combined seal emitted a grayish light, reminiscent of an ancient divine mountain with the might to crush and annihilate everything. Its sheer presence was enough to instill fear in onlookers. Some Foundation establishment true persons from the Red Hades Mansion and Profound Light Cave Heaven initially looked down upon the disciples of Tai Dao Palace. They felt that these Tai Dao Palace disciples were not significantly superior. But seeing the merged Great Mountain Seal silenced them. With such a formidable weapon, even dozens of top-tier Foundation establishment true persons would be no match for the combined might of the Great Mountain Seals of Tai Dao Palace. It was true invincibility. It was hard for them to imagine any Foundation, establishment, or martial state level cultivator being able to withstand the power of the Great Mountain Seal. For a Foundation establishment true person, a significant portion of their strength came from their magic treasures. If the magic treasure was too potent, the Foundation establishment true person would be unable to activate it. But this combined Great Mountain Seal, infused with the power of over 20 Foundation establishment true persons, didn't have that problem. Its formidable strength could likely challenge even martial sovereigns and Golden Core true persons. Descend. Suddenly, the Great Mountain Seal, reminiscent of an ancient divine mountain, began its descent. Though it wasn't as enormous inside the Immortal Mansion, its power remained undiminished. True person Lin Fei was certain that the combined might of these 24 Foundation establishment true persons from Tai Dao Palace was almost invincible, primarily because of the unique Great Mountain Seal. Shush! Lin Fei drew his saber. Without any hesitation, the moment the Great Mountain Seals merged, Lin Fei made his move. Flame-burning heaven saber. It was like a roaring fire. And at such close proximity, Lin Fei's blood energy domain erupted instantly, filling the entire Immortal Mansion prison. The 24 Tai Dao Palace Foundation establishment true persons felt the oppressive force of Lin Fei's blood energy domain. However, that was just the energy domain, they could still resist it. But then, the next moment, Lin Fei's saber momentum descended. Boom. It felt as if boundless flames and infinite sabers were cutting through them. The flames seemed to be searing their bodies, threatening to turn them into ashes. This was Lin Fei's saber momentum, infused with the flame-burning heaven saber's power. Its might skyrocketed. What a terrifying saber momentum! Isn't this saber momentum perfected yet? He is the most formidable martial saint we've seen. Hold on. As long as we resist, once the Great Mountain Seal descends, he will undoubtedly perish. The 20-plus Foundation establishment true persons were the cream of the crop from Tai Dao Palace. They were acutely aware of the immense power of the Great Mountain Seal. If they could just withstand Lin Fei's saber momentum and maintain the merger of the 20-plus Great Mountain Seals, then once the seal descended, Lin Fei would surely perish. After all, no martial saint or Foundation establishment cultivator could withstand this terrifying Great Mountain Seal. Slash! With one swing, Lin Fei unleashed his saber. Countless saber essences converged into his flame-burning heaven saber. With the boost of his current saber momentum, its power surged manifold. One slash seemed to plunge the entire Immortal Mansion into a purgatory of flames. Witnessing this, Foundation establishment true persons from both Red Hades Mansion and Profound Light Cave Heaven were flabbergasted and deeply shaken. Was this really still the power level of the Foundation establishment? In their eyes, neither Foundation establishment true persons nor martial saints could exhibit such terrifying power, especially Lin Fei. While they had heard rumors of him defeating Jian Tianyun from Illusion Worry City and knew he was the strongest martial saint of the ancient origin sect, those were merely rumors. To them, no matter how strong a martial saint was, there was always a limit. But witnessing Lin Fei's slash, they realized how deeply mistaken they were. If they were to face Lin Fei, even if not his saber, just the oppressive force of his blood energy domain combined with his fearsome saber momentum would be enough to overwhelm them. One slash and they'd be slain. But now, Lin Fei's target was the Great Mountain Seal, that terrifying Great Mountain Seal. Boom. Finally, Lin Fei's slash collided with the Great Mountain Seal, causing it to wobble intensely, its spiritual light flickering. After all, it was a merger of dozens of Great Mountain Seals, not a true integral magic treasure. When faced with potent force, it could potentially break apart. However, the Great Mountain Seal didn't shatter. Despite its intense wobbling, supported by the combined magical prowess of the 20-plus Elite Foundation establishment true persons, the Great Mountain Seal withstood Lin Fei's devastating slash. The hearts of the 20-plus Foundation establishment true persons from Tai Dao Palace surged with exhilaration. They believed that they had won this battle. Once the Great Mountain Seal descended, Lin Fei was certain to meet his doom. The Great Mountain Seal continued its descent towards Lin Fei. Lin Fei looked up at the looming Great Mountain Seal with an unperturbed expression. That strike was the most potent one he could muster, yet it still fell a tad short of breaking the seal. Whoosh! Lin Fei lifted his head, eyes locked onto the Great Mountain Seal above. Without any hesitation, he announced, Rainbow Transformation Saber, Evolve Saber Momentum. Boom! Instantly, Lin Fei's Rainbow Transformation Saber began its evolution. Though his saber intent for the Rainbow Transformation Saber was previously perfected, he hadn't evolved its momentum. He had hoped to save time and evolve it after getting out. But now, it was imperative. Soon, Lin Fei's Rainbow Transformation Saber rapidly evolved to the Rainbow Momentum and Ultimate Speed. Within the Rainbow Momentum, the saber's speed could reach an unprecedented pinnacle, akin to a rainbow's brilliance. When the saber's speed increased, its might would be earth-shattering. Without any hesitation, Lin Fei merged his heavenly saber momentum with the Rainbow Transformation Saber Momentum. These two terrifying momentums fused instantly, giving rise to a new saber momentum. Your Rainbow Transformation Saber Momentum has merged with the Heavenly Saber Momentum. Your saber momentum has improved by 40%. The system's voice echoed within Lin Fei's mind. As expected, his saber momentum training progress shot up by 40%, reaching approximately 80%. That was sufficient. Rainbow Transformation Saber, Flame Burning Heaven Saber, Holy Spirit Saber, 3-in-1 slash. At that moment, Lin Fei clasped his hands together, combining all three sabers into one. Every bit of saber essence, blood essence, saber techniques, and saber momentum was infused into this singular slash. Enhanced by the momentum, the slash was as swift as a fleeting shadow and seemingly reached a groundbreaking level. Chapter 267. Perfect Saber Momentum. Bang! Lin Fei's strike was incredibly fast. From the moment he evolved his Rainbow Transformation Saber Momentum to the slashing of his blade, it was all done in a fleeting moment. With the enhancement of his newfound saber momentum, the speed of his slash wasn't just a mere increase. The speed of his saber technique multiplied manifold, thereby multiplying its power even tenfold. As such, when his strike landed on the Great Mountain Seal, it paused ever so slightly. Then, the luminance of the Great Mountain Seal dimmed instantly. Crack! Surprisingly, cracks began to appear all over the massive Great Mountain Seal. How could this be? The Great Mountain Seal is breaking apart. This is a merger of over 20 Great Mountain Seals, including 5 that are at the Golden Core level. How can anyone below the Golden Core true person break the Great Mountain Seal? For a moment, every Foundation Establishment true person from Tai Dao Palace was stunned. Boom! Finally, the Great Mountain Seal shattered, scattering back into individual seals, their luminance dim. Even if they weren't destroyed, they were severely damaged. They couldn't be used for some time and would require significant nurturing before they could be activated again. Witnessing this, whether it was the people from Tai Dao Palace or those from Red Hades Mansion and Profound Light Cave Heaven, a single word resonated in their minds. Invincible. Invincible below the Golden Core. In the ancient continent, it was challenging to label anyone as invincible. No matter who, no matter the realm, there always seemed to be someone stronger lurking in the shadows. Leave, let's go now. The people of Tai Dao Palace, without a second thought, decided to flee immediately. Their combined force, even with the fusion of the Great Mountain Seals, couldn't handle Lin Fei. Staying would mean certain death. Those who obstruct my path will be shown no mercy. Lin Fei's eyes were cold, emitting an intense killing intent. The people from Tai Dao Palace had delayed him for a significant amount of time. Considering the impending closure of the Immortal Mansion, they had effectively hindered his progress. Naturally, Lin Fei would show no mercy. Swish, swish, swish. With a flick of his fingers, Lin Fei sent out multiple streaks of saber essence hurtling towards the Foundation Establishment true persons of Tai Dao Palace. Now, under Lin Fei's incredible saber momentum, every streak of saber essence was further augmented in speed. Their velocity was almost inconceivable. His saber essence reached cultivators in virtually an instant, a testament to the enhancement of the saber momentum. Lin Fei was beginning to understand the difference between the saber momentum derived from martial state level techniques and those from innate level techniques. When martial state level techniques evolved into saber momentum, they often incorporated a unique power. For instance, when the flame-burning heaven saber's momentum was unleashed, it engulfed everything in flames, making it feel like one was trapped in purgatory. The Rainbow Transformation Saber's momentum, on the other hand, boosted Lin Fei's saber speed, amplifying its swiftness manifold. This is why every single streak of Lin Fei's saber essence landed on these cultivators, cutting through their defenses. Split a sizzle. Even if Lin Fei manifested only a single streak of saber essence, its potency was awe-inspiring. Most of the cultivators couldn't defend against it. Some didn't even have the time to react, unable to even cast their protective spells before they were split in half by the power of Lin Fei's saber essence. A few managed to barely summon their damaged Great Mountain Seal, but the seals, with their dimmed spiritual light, were instantly shattered by Lin Fei's blade. Out of more than 20 elite Foundation establishment true persons, only 5 managed to escape. Those 5 managed to survive only because they had the golden core level Great Mountain Seals, which barely held off Lin Fei's saber essence. Quick, we need to leave the Immortal Mansion at the fastest speed possible. The remaining 5 cultivators were in a frenzied panic, desperate to escape without lingering within the confines of the mansion. They were willing to pay any price just to get out. Once outside the mansion, they could find safety under the protection of the Golden Core true persons of Tai Dao Palace. Inside the mansion, an eerie silence took over. The representatives from the Red Hades Mansion and Profound Light Cave Heaven seemed to still be in shock, staying motionless. Lin Fei glanced at the people from the Red Hades Mansion and Profound Light Cave Heaven. These individuals hadn't acted against him, so he had no intention of wasting further time on them. He sat down cross-legged and declared impassively, "Leave or die." Profound Light Cave Heaven and Red Hades Mansion had a unique relationship with the ancient Origin sect, and since they hadn't taken action, Lin Fei didn't want to go to the extreme of slaughtering them. "Leave." The people from Red Hades Mansion and Profound Light Cave Heaven dared not linger any longer and fled from the Immortal Mansion's prison as if escaping for their lives. Once more, the prison fell into silence, leaving Lin Fei alone with the scattered bodies on the ground. No storage bags were to be found near the corpses, likely held by the 5 cultivators who had Golden Core level magic treasures. However, Lin Fei had no intention of profiting from these bodies. He had something more crucial at hand: the continued honing of his Holy Spirit saber intent. At present, the saber intent of his Holy Spirit saber reached 97% completion. It was approaching 100%, and Lin Fei was almost there. Soon, Lin Fei immersed his mind in his practice and stepped closer to the prison. As he did, he could see not corpses, but a horrifying slash mark within the prison, radiating intense saber intent and momentum. A single cut, emitting such terrifying saber momentum, made Lin Fei's heart shudder. Determined to quickly polish his Holy Spirit saber intent to perfection, he gritted his teeth and approached the prison gate. Boom! The terrifying saber intent and momentum struck him immediately. Hum! Lin Fei's Holy Spirit saber intent erupted at once, seeming on the verge of collapse. However, Lin Fei's control over the saber momentum allowed him to isolate its crushing pressure just before the intent collapsed. It was a risky move, but the benefits were clear. 98%, 99%, 100%. Finally, the saber intent of Lin Fei's Holy Spirit saber reached 100%. Your Holy Spirit saber intent has reached a cultivation progress of 100%. Your Holy Spirit saber intent has achieved perfection. At the pinnacle of perfection with the Holy Spirit saber intent, Lin Fei immediately commanded, "Evolve saber momentum." Without hesitation, the saber intent began to evolve its momentum. A radiant white light emanated from within Lin Fei, filling the space with a sense of the divine, weightiness, and mystery. Being enveloped in this glow would amplify one's war intention, courage, and much more. This was a kind of saber momentum that could amplify one's soul and emotions, a rarity indeed. 3 saber techniques, 3 types of saber momentum, done. A unique glint appeared in Lin Fei's eyes. Merge. The crucial step had arrived. Lin Fei immediately integrated the Holy Spirit saber momentum into his heavenly saber momentum. The 2 forms of saber momentum intertwined, clashing and merging with one another. As they did, Lin Fei's progress in cultivating his saber momentum accelerated rapidly. Boom! Perhaps much time had passed, or perhaps it was just a mere instant, but Lin Fei felt the Holy Spirit saber momentum vanish, merging fully into the heavenly saber momentum. Simultaneously, Lin Fei's transcendent saber momentum broke through its threshold, undergoing a complete metamorphosis. Your saber momentum cultivation progress has reached 100%. Your saber momentum has broken through to perfection. At this moment, Lin Fei's saber momentum had finally achieved perfection. Chapter 268. Liu Feng's Conspiracy. Saber momentum perfected. Lin Fei's eyes were profound. From manifesting the saber momentum to its ultimate completion, he had undergone countless trials. In the grand era of Great Chan, Lin Fei manifested the saber momentum. And with this momentum, he vanquished the 10 immortal gates of Great Chan, earning him the title Saber Saint. However, Lin Fei traveled across the seas from Great Chan, a journey that spanned nearly a year. In that year, countless events unfolded. Many would not experience in decades or even centuries what Lin Fei encountered in that single year. Thus, he felt a deep sense of hardship. Yet, his efforts finally bore fruit. The saber momentum was perfected. Now, Lin Fei could attempt to condense the spirit flower. Furthermore, he felt that the spirit flower would come effortlessly to him. After all, his saber momentum was unprecedented in its might. It had integrated countless saber techniques, including 3 top-tier techniques of the martial saber level. Fusing myriad saber momentums, Lin Fei's now perfect momentum was so powerful that its extent was even unclear to him. However, now was not the time to condense the spirit flower. Since entering the Immortal Mansion, though merely 29 days had passed, he had slain many of Tai Dao Palace's top foundation establishment true persons. The remaining 5 true persons had fled. Who could predict the next move of Tai Dao Palace's golden core true person? Thus, Lin Fei needed to leave the Immortal Mansion post-haste. Let's go. Without further hesitation, Lin Fei immediately departed from the prison of the Immortal Mansion. Guided by the human-faced fruit, he could swiftly return to where he first entered the Immortal Mansion and thus leave the mansion entirely. Beneath the ocean depths, Golden Light True Person, Red Crane True Person, and Wind Sovereign were covertly communicating. All of them were intently observing Tai Dao Palace's true person Lo Fen. Regardless of any grudges between Wind Sovereign and Golden Light True Person, in the face of Tai Dao Palace, the 3 powers stood united, setting aside past grievances and presenting a united front. They dared not let their guard down against true person Lo Fen. A hum resonated. It originated from the heart of the Immortal Mansion. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 5 figures, seemingly fleeing in panic, emerged from the mansion. Their movements appeared staggered, unsteady. These were the 5 foundation establishment true persons of Tai Dao Palace. Yet, now they looked utterly terrified, their eyes reflecting sheer horror. Their appearance was rather pitiable. We've finally escaped. Ha, we made it out. True person Lu Feng is here too, we are safe. The relief was palpable on the faces of the 5 cultivators upon spotting Lu Feng. However, witnessing this, Lu Feng's expression darkened ominously. He coldly inquired what exactly happened that left you all in such a state of panic, forcing you to leave the Immortal Mansion in such disarray. And where are the others? Facing Lu Feng's question, the 5 hurriedly approached him. Their eyes still harbored traces of lingering fear toward the Immortal Mansion behind them. The group reported, Elder Lo, there's no one else. Only the 5 of us remain, the others have perished. Perished? The news visibly shook Lu Feng. Yes, all gone. We initially entered the Immortal Mansion and, following your instructions, began collecting various magical treasures. However, we later encountered Lin Fei of the ancient origin sect in the mansion's prison. He struck at us fiercely, slaying over a dozen of us. We were the only ones fortunate enough to escape. The 5 Tai Dao Palace true persons chose their words carefully, subtly pinning the blame entirely on Lin Fei. Lin Fei. Lu Feng's gaze sharply turned towards Wind Sovereign. In fact, Wind Sovereign, Red Crane True Person, and Golden Light True Person all wore expressions of shock. They were all well aware of Tai Dao Palace's distinct features. Over 20 top-tier foundation establishment true persons, each possessing a great mountain seal. The combined might of these true persons was terrifying. Could Lin Fei, on his own, have truly defeated so many from Tai Dao Palace? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At that moment, even more figures emerged from the Immortal Mansion. These were members from the Red Hades Mansion and Profound Light Cave Heaven. "Why have you come out? It's only been 29 days, you could have stayed an extra day." Red Crane True Person and Golden Light True Person both frowned, seemingly discontented. After all, opportunities in the Immortal Mansion were rare to come by. Every moment inside could lead to discovering valuable treasures. Leaving a day early could mean missing out on numerous magical treasures. Members from both Red Hades Mansion and Profound Light Cave Heaven spoke with wry smiles. "Elders, it's not that we didn't want to stay in the Immortal Mansion for another day, but we simply couldn't and didn't dare to." Earlier, there was a conflict between members of Tai Dao Palace and Elder Lin of the Ancient Origin sect. The Tai Dao Palace initiated an attack using their magical treasures against Elder Lin. As a result, Elder Lin showed immense strength and killed over a dozen of Tai Dao Palace's foundation establishment true persons. Elder Lin then drove us out as well. We figured there wasn't much point in staying another day, given the danger, so we immediately left the Immortal Mansion. The explanations from the members of Red Hades Mansion and Profound Light Cave Heaven clarified the situation to the three Golden Core True Persons and Wind Sovereign. However, the news that Lin Fei, all on his own, had slain more than a dozen top-tier Foundation establishment true persons from Tai Dao Palace was astonishing. The power displayed by a martial saint of such caliber was beyond their imagination. Wind Sovereign internally felt a great shock. He knew Lin Fei was powerful, but he hadn't expected this magnitude of strength. "What an ancient origin sect, what a Lin Fei!" True Person Lu Fen exclaimed, his anger evident as a chilling intent to kill emanated from him. When Sovereign retorted, "True Person Lu, our four major forces agreed before entering the Immortal Mansion that it would be every man for himself. Now, can't Tai Dao Palace accept a loss? Especially when it was your disciples who initiated the attack on Elder Lin of my ancient origin sect and they were countered and killed by Elder Lin. It just means that your Tai Dao Palace is inferior." Lu Feng's anger reached its peak. "Inferior? Humph. How about, when Sovereign, you and I have a direct confrontation?" As the tension intensified, Red Crane True Person and Golden Light True Person intervened. "True Person Lu Fen, are you trying to ignite a conflict between Tai Dao Palace and our three major forces?" The atmosphere was thick with tension, the outcome of this confrontation uncertain. "We've already agreed that once inside the Immortal Mansion, it's every person for themselves," Golden Light True Person reiterated. "Now, True Person Lu Fen is acting out of spite against Wind Sovereign. Attacking Wind Sovereign is essentially provoking all three of our major forces. We stand united," Red Crane True Person added with conviction. The bond and understanding among the three major forces were evident. Wind Sovereign nodded subtly in agreement, grateful for the support of Red Crane True Person and Golden Light True Person. The unity of the three major powers was their strongest card, ensuring that Tai Dao Palace could not target them individually. Lu Feng's expression turned somber. He could potentially take on Wind Sovereign alone, but with the additional support of Red Crane and Golden Light, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. However, the thought of letting Lin Fei go after the latter had slain many of his elite Foundation establishment cultivators, including two of his own disciples, did not sit well with him. Even as a Golden Core True Person, returning to Tai Dao Palace with such a loss would be a humiliation. His status demanded revenge. Lu Feng's gaze shifted to the grand formation of the Immortal Mansion. An idea dawned on him. Lin Fei hadn't emerged yet. In fact, he was the only one left inside. HMPH, if that's the case, then let Lin Fei stay in the Immortal Mansion forever, he thought maliciously. With that, Lu Feng began retracting his spiritual power, deliberately ceasing to suppress the grand formation of the Immortal Mansion alongside Wind Sovereign and the others. "Lu Feng, you dare." When Sovereign's expression changed dramatically, his power surging towards the mansion's grand formation in a desperate bid to prevent its closure. But without Lu Feng's assistance, Wen Sovereign's efforts, no matter how intense, could not halt the inevitable. Boom. The grand formation of the immortal mansion sealed itself. Alarmingly, the entire mansion began to vibrate. It was preparing to depart. Once the immortal mansion disappeared, even if the ancient origin sect could muster the strength of 4 martial sovereigns, rescuing Lin Fei would be impossible. Lin Fei was at risk of being trapped inside the immortal mansion forever. Chapter 269. 3 flowers converging atop. Inside the immortal mansion, Lin Fei was rushing towards the entrance at top speed. Suddenly, a thunderous vibration shook the entire mansion. What's going on? Lin Fei's expression changed from confusion to alarm. The human-faced fruit quickly analyzed the surroundings and said, "It appears the immortal mansion's formation is attempting to flee. This formation was laid by the 7 holy Taoist. If it senses an attack, it will try to escape. Perhaps someone outside has triggered the formation." Lin Fei's face paled. If the immortal mansion was fleeing, wouldn't that mean he'd be trapped inside forever? With a humming sound, he immediately deployed his saber momentum. This technique allowed Lin Fei to move at an enhanced speed, and soon he arrived at the place where he had entered a month ago. However, a chill flashed in his eyes as he noticed the formation that allowed him to leave the immortal mansion rapidly closing. Something must have happened outside. After all, it was only the 29th day, not yet the agreed-upon 30. Under normal circumstances, the Golden Core True Persons and Wen Sovereign outside should be able to support the formation without it closing. But now it was closing, and something must have gone wrong outside. What's more, it seemed that Lin Fei was the only person left inside the entire immortal mansion. Human-faced fruit, the grand formation is closing. Do you know how to control it? Lin Fei asked urgently. This grand formation was personally arranged by the 7 sacred Taoist. No one but him can control it, the human-faced fruit replied helplessly. A heavy feeling settled in Lin Fei's heart. Was he really going to be trapped in the immortal mansion? He refused to accept this fate. There must be a way. Lin Fei exclaimed and lashed out with his saber. Bang! Lin Fei's blade was blocked by the formation, creating ripples before the surface returned to calmness. This formation was momentarily suppressed by the Golden Core True Persons and martial sovereigns of the 4 major factions. Even if the formation has recovered, there still seem to be some issues. If my power were just a bit stronger to strike the formation, it might not be impossible to create a crack in the formation. Even a tiny fissure would be enough for me to leave the immortal mansion. Lin Fei unleashed several slashes in succession. As a result, the formation was indeed violently shaking. It wasn't as invincible as one might think, especially from the inside. There was a chance to create an opening. However, even if the formation is currently not operating smoothly, the power of a mere martial sate would undoubtedly be insufficient to create an opening. At the least, it would require the strength of a Golden Core or Martial Sovereign. Martial Sovereign? Lin Fei muttered softly. You must hurry and give it a try. The formation is activating and might disappear soon. When that happens, the formation might just repair itself. You won't have even the slightest chance then. Unless you reach the realm of Martial Sovereign, then perhaps you'll have a slim hope of breaking the formation and leaving. The human-faced fruit reminded Lin Fei. If he wanted to escape, time was of the essence. Once the formation recovered, Lin Fei wouldn't have even a sliver of opportunity. With that thought, Lin Fei no longer hesitated. He had originally planned to condense the spirit flower after getting out. However, there wasn't any time left now. Boom! Lin Fei unleashed his saber momentum. Now, Lin Fei's saber momentum had reached perfection. Within the saber momentum, Lin Fei's strength could increase tenfold, even dozens of times. Under the influence of saber momentum, Lin Fei was invincible. Yet, that invincibility was only at the level of a martial saint. He still couldn't break the immortal mansion's formation. Condense. The next moment, Lin Fei's saber momentum seemed to begin boiling. The saber momentum continuously gathered above him. The endless power of the saber momentum, it seemed like it was constantly rolling and churning. When the saber momentum had reached its peak. Boom. Above Lin Fei's head, a flower suddenly manifested. The spirit flower. The most challenging spirit flower for a martial saint had finally been condensed by Lin Fei. And it happened as naturally as water flowing into a channel. It didn't seem as difficult as the legend suggested. Of course, Lin Fei understood. It was likely due to the merit of his saber momentum. The emergence of the spirit flower signified that Lin Fei had reached the pinnacle at the martial saint level. Vroom, vroom. The next moment, the energy flower and chi flower also emerged. Lin Fei's aura continually soared. 3 flowers hovered above Lin Fei's head, enshrouding the entire immortal mansion within the aura of these 3 blossoms. 3 flowers converging atop. These 3 flowers even attracted one another, holding an intricate connection between them. With the 3 flowers converging, Lin Fei's blood energy, saber essence, and even his saber momentum all seemed to subtly merge together. Once they truly combined, it would signify the unity of the 3 flowers. Only then could one attempt to shatter the life wheel's shackles, revealing the life wheel itself. However, it is a gradual process. Typically, once the 3 flowers are condensed, reaching the realm of the 3 flowers gathering, one would need to adjust their state and patiently wait. It might take a few days, or as long as a year and a half. The 3 flowers would then slowly merge autonomously, ultimately uniting as one to challenge the shackles of the Wheel of Destiny. However, even if the 3 flowers unite, whether one can break the shackles is still uncertain. This is a gradual process. By this point, most martial saints would typically be oscillating between the realm of a martial sovereign and that of a martial saint. However, Lin Fei was no ordinary martial saint. Even if when he only condensed 2 flowers and his saber momentum wasn't yet perfect, combining the power of 3 slashes into one, Lin Fei's strength had been at a level that oscillates between a martial sovereign and a martial saint. And now, with Lin Fei's perfected saber momentum and even the condensed chi flower having reached the realm of 3 flowers converging atop, how profound might his strength be? Lin Fei wasn't sure. But now, he had to test it out. Regardless, this was his only chance to break the grand formation of the immortal mansion. His sole opportunity to leave the immortal mansion. And so, the 3 flowers hovering above Lin Fei's had shimmered slightly. At the same moment, in the void, countless saber essences converged, forming yet another blade. This blade bore the echoes of the Holy Spirit Saber, Rainbow Transformation Saber, and Flame Burn in Heaven Saber. In essence, it was a fusion of the 3 blades. The techniques of all 3 sabers evolved within the saber momentum. Thus, with a mere thought from Lin Fei, the casually unleashed slash was, in fact, a union of the 3. There was no need to premeditate the tri-saber fusion any longer. Furthermore, Lin Fei's saber momentum permeated the entire immortal mansion. Empowered by Lin Fei's saber momentum, this blade continued to condense. All the saber essence seemed to converge to a single focal point. The energy flower, chi flower, and spirit flower showed merging hence. Slash. Without any hesitation, Lin Fei executed the strike. With the combination of the 3 flowers, countless saber essences, blood energy, and saber momentum were all concentrated into this one slash. This strike could be considered Lin Fei's most powerful slash to date. Boom. The strike, resembling the descent of the heavens, was unleashed. Instantaneously, it felt as though the heavens were shattering. The entire immortal mansion quaked violently. The explosive power seemed to have broken through some mysterious threshold of the universe.